the I'm a Fan Of podcast, music, comedy, and more.
All right, Mike Tuck.
Sir,
Dude,
Travis.
what is going on? It's been a couple years now?
Yes, sir. Since before the pandemic, I want to say.
I think so.
Yeah.
You were still in the Air Force last time we chatted.
Yes, sir.
We tried to do this, and then we realized this might mess with your Air Force career, and we should probably
I
not
said
do
too
this.
much.
I don't think you said too much, but I could tell, that's no... That's not a thing you want to lose once you start it.
Right.
And I could tell it was always like, I don't want to say things that could be an issue, even though they might not be an issue. You just don't want to chance it. It's like the last thing you want to do is get in trouble with the fucking military.
Yeah, they'll get pretty serious on you pretty quick.
I don't know how you describe it, but I'm going to tell everybody. It seemed like quite the cush gig because you were in the military, but you were playing guitar for the Air Force, right?
It was amazing, man. I miss it. I really do.
Yeah. How many years did you do total? Was it just the 4?
I just did my 4-year contract and got out of there.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Will they allow you to just play music in there for like a 20-year career if you wanted to stay?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was kind of my plan, honestly. It was, I had been doing, at the time, I'd been working for Zane and, just in the music business, being a sideman like myself, there's no clear-cut future for you, Like you have to really be good with money to ever have a shot at retiring, which I am horrible with money. I was actually just working on my taxes today. I was like, God, I'm going to owe how much? Don't have it.
Before we dive in on some other stuff, I've always been fascinated by what does a guitar player for a successful country musician make?
Well,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I know
sure.
they all probably do it a little differently, but when you see a guy, let's just pick any famous band you want to.
Sure.
Not a famous band, a famous like country artist who has a band.
The guys in the band,
are they making like a great living, or is it like kind of a gig for them, or?
I feel like I was just thinking about this earlier. I don't think I know anybody who has a family and that plays guitar for a living that only plays guitar, like even in a band. Like that's just not enough to live off of. I feel like most of the bigger touring guys, I can take a wild guess, they make probably 50 or 60,000 a year, even on like stadium tours.
And that's a hard life because you're on the road.
Right.
Yeah.
Once you start having a family, and if you're the sole provider, it kind of puts everything in a different light. I mean, it really is a young man's game to be touring like that, unless you get some great gig where they're just going to pay you like $600,000 or $100,000.
Yeah, but that seems few and far between, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
But in country music, seems like it has the ability to be so lucrative. Is it just like record labels taking the chunk of it, or what was your perception when you were out there doing it?
Man, I really only have an experience with the Texas side of things, and that is all over the map as far as that goes. And I'm lucky to be working for Pat Green right now.
Congratulations, man!
That's I love Pat. He's freaking awesome. He's honestly the best guy to work for, honest to God. And he goes above and beyond for us more than anybody on the scene, even Nashville related. Like Pat treats us like we're his like sons.
Yeah,
he's a great guy, and he's someone I know. If my back was up against the wall and I was like, "Hey Pat, like I blew it this month, like can you help me out with some rent?" I feel like he'd be like, "Sure, Mike, you're an idiot, but here you go."
Yeah. I mean, but it's crazy you say it's a young man's game, and a couple years ago, Willie Nelson came through Dallas. And I just happened to be in my email, and I'm on the email list for the Granada Theater.
Oh, nice.
And they literally, like, while I'm looking at the email, it's like a secret pre-sale for the email list for Willie Nelson at the Granada. And, I mean, it's fucking Willie Nelson. He doesn't play a place like that ever. So I immediately bought 2 tickets, and then I was thinking, oh, man, I'm a dick. I should buy 2 more because somebody else is going to want to come with us. This is going to be... And just in that short time, it was sold out. So it was this once-in-a-lifetime experience seeing him, 15 rows back or whatever it was, when he's standing in the middle of the Granada.
Yeah.
And then you look on stage, and it's like he's old, his whole band is old, everybody's old. And it's maybe 3 or 4 songs in, I realized I have never seen veteran musicians of that caliber, like people who have played together for 40 years or however long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm
sure
like,
it's about 40 years.
They're
I'm sure
good. They're so good. And it's like any other skill, right? Like if you go see a guy who I don't know, pick whatever trade, like a microphone maker or something. It's like
Yeah.
you go watching some guy who's done it for 40 or 50 years, it seems just effortless, right? And there's just a technique and a touch to it that only time brings. And so when you hear like it's a young man's game, it's like, man, how many performances do you potentially miss out on in that genre of music of just incredible, seasoned veteran musicians because they're just like, I can't do the road anymore.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean,
and they're fucking killers, right?
that's what gives a lot of the next generation their start. That's really how I got my first gig too. Is
people aging out, so y'all can come
yeah,
in.
you know, people get in their 30s, start having a wife and a kid, and they're like, man, I can't go play in North Dakota for 4 days and make $200.
Yeah.
But then you find a 21-year-old who lives with their parents and they're like, hell yeah, I'll do that. I'll play for free.
Do you remember the person that was stepping down that you got to take over for?
Man, it was my guitar teacher and one of my best friends, and I consider a life mentor, Shane Green.
Oh, that's right. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah.
You guys all spoke so highly of Shane.
Oh, he's the man. I love that guy.
I said that like he's passed away. I'm sure he's still existing. Sorry, Shane.
Yeah, man. Yeah, actually, him and I are working on a project together right now. As we're working on just like an online guitar lessons website. And we've been talking about it for years, and we have the actual site up. It's called honkytonkguitar.com.
There you
Kinda
go.
Very on brand with everything else I'm doing. And we're just kind of slowly adding content to that, which I kind of hate the word content.
Yeah,
but
it makes
I'll
you
use
cringe.
it here. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. It's like,
But what else do you call it?
I don't know. It does. It always feels like content.
Yeah, you got to make more content, dude.
Yeah, but this is the best time in the history of the world to learn an instrument.
Right.
I mean, there's so much.
There's too much.
There's too much. But I mean, I can't remember how you learned, but when I learned, it was, getting guitar magazines and looking for tabs and stuff in the back and learning on your own,
Right.
I can't remember. Did you take lessons or how did you pick
I
it up?
took lessons, I think when I was around 9 years old, took lessons for a bit. And man, I remember getting Guitar World. This is before YouTube was really around too. I don't think I watched my first YouTube video until I was like 13 or 12 or something like that.
I remember being psyched for a new magazine, and you flip through to see which songs, which artists.
There are like
who
6
did they throw
tabs for every magazine.
and you only got maybe half or 3/4 of the licks.
Yeah,
you still had to figure out a ton of it on your own.
Yeah,
but it was always exciting. And now you can just look up any song you want, and you can have any version and age range of person teaching you how to play it.
Yeah, there's like 25 guys out there teaching you the exact same thing. I mean, that's another, I guess, market that is just extremely saturated. So sometimes when I'm working on stuff like that, I'm like, man, why am I even doing this? Like, the people we're trying to emulate, they themselves are also making like online courses now.
True, but I think there's something for everybody. I think it just comes down to, do these people kind of vibe with your style of teaching and playing? Right?
Yeah.
You can hear 30 people play the same lick, and it's a little different.
Absolutely.
It's a little different, right?
Right.
There's just something about the way you touch the strings. It's just the way you learned it. Because you, if I remember correctly, you came up strong with Van Halen is what you were playing originally,
yeah,
right?
dude, check it out, man. I got this Van Halen
that's right. Yeah, so when you think about going from Van Halen and then you went through like your jazz,
yeah.
Was it a 3-piece or 4-piece?
Man,
you usually played in?
Usually about a 4-piece. I'd have a horn player because I was too lazy to try to read the melodies.
And now, honky tonk, man. You're just playing all these country licks.
That's really what's made my living, just all the country stuff for since I got out of the Air Force, but before that as well. Mm-hmm. And I've been trying to do that as much as I can. My role with Pat is I play acoustic pedal steel slide. Like, I've got a guitar, a PRS I play, which I normally wouldn't play, but the action's like an inch off the fretboard, so I can only play slide on that. So I'm kind of like the utility for them.
That's cool.
But so that's why I started that Tuesday honky tonk jam.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, we're doing it tomorrow at but that's
is that still I'm sorry, it's Love and War, right?
Yes, sir.
In Plano, the Plano location?
Yes, sir.
I
think Grapevine shut down.
Well, that place in Plano specifically, I feel like they have been such a advocate for music for so long.
Dude, absolutely.
They've been doing so many shows there, and it's so unsuspecting if you don't know it's there.
Right.
It looks like it's just a restaurant, and then you walk in and it's got this great stage.
They just redid their stage too, I think either this year or last year, and You know, it's part of their whole brand, and I think they changed owners maybe during the pandemic or something like that. But
I'm just glad they made it through.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, no kidding. I mean, I hope they can stay afloat too. You know, it's like venues are kind of shutting down left and right. It seems like.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of discussions with people here locally that are just local musicians, you know, not touring musicians, about, you know, what do you even do? How do you get people excited about going to shows again? Because a lot of people are struggling with money. It's hard to get out and do stuff.
Yep.
But we all kind of grew up, like, music was such a big part of our life, going to shows and seeing things.
Yeah.
I mean, even Love and War in Plano, I'm already getting a memory of my father-in-law when he got married. They did their reception just on the patio there because Dale,
No way.
yeah, because Dale Watson was playing.
No shit.
And they were like, he's fucking awesome. We'll just do that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you have this memory of just all these relatives just getting hammered, dancing with Dale Watson. And I think at that time he was sponsored by Lone Star or something. So it was like,
it
was like every
see his
6
Instagram
songs.
post.
Yeah, it was like every 5th or 6th
He'll
song.
literally hold up a Lone
The
Star
band would
bottle.
be playing like waiting room music, like
Yeah.
ba, 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 and he'd just be like Lone Star, the cold beer or whatever, and just start doing his thing, you know, in his Dale Watson way. And
That guy's awesome, man.
just a lot of style with that guy, huh?
Great hair.
Dude, right? Come
Yeah.
on, man. How can you be so lucky, Dale? Like, I just want to know, it's like just this incredible wig that he has, you know, and he's fooling us all. But no, it's like those moments, you know, it's like that's, even if you don't really, really love music, it's just a great social kind of lubricant to get everybody together and just have a good time. You create these core memories, you know?
Yeah. And we see a lot of those folks who will come out to the jam who just, like, you know, even if we bomb a song, people are just so stoked to be there, and they're just fans of music. They'll just sit there and drink a beer and watch our whole set and just freaking love it. It's awesome.
I think Dallas, Fort Worth, specifically, like just our little metroplex area and the little surrounding cities, I think that's a lot of what we're missing with music right now. Somewhere along the way, it feels like we let the community kind of just drift apart of music lovers. You know, I remember there used to be just a shitload of open mics where people would get together. The things you're talking about doing right now, and it's either they've gone away or, you know, I'm just getting older and don't hear about it. But I feel like I feel like I pay attention to the venues and stuff around here.
Well, that's, man, I was trying to find like an open mic or an open jam thing, and man, I couldn't find like much of anything, you know. So I just hit up Love More. They're like, heck yeah, that sounds awesome. Sounds good.
What night of the week do y'all usually do it?
Every Tuesday.
Tuesdays.
Yeah, we just
so
started
they don't
doing
have
it
anything
weekly.
going on there either, right? That's perfect for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you're kicking somebody off the stage who would have sold a bunch of beer or anything.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I refuse to believe some of the musicians that I've talked to, they get on this real pessimistic route of young kids don't play instruments. They just want to do covers. And it's all TikTok cover songs. I'm like, I don't know, man. I think every generation has kids that want to pick up a guitar. Or
I mean, I feel like
I don't believe that.
There's folks out there still actually like love the purity of, you know, being a real musician, playing a whole song, playing out. But I mean, to their credit, there are quite a few musicians I feel like that only play on TikTok, and they can sound good for like 45 seconds, but go put them in a room, you know, I'm not confident they could recreate that on like a 90-minute set or something like that.
So maybe that's the hurdle, is just reminding people how fun it is to see that live.
Yeah.
You know, for instance, there was a clip of the Beastie Boys, like on Jimmy Fallon or something, and he has, you know, the Roots as his backing band.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so they were doing a Beastie Boys song, like just impromptu. I think they were just like, they were a guest or something in the area, and they just hopped on. But it's the Roots playing all the music.
That's awesome.
And then it's 3 guys. There's no gimmicks. It's just 3 microphones, 3 dudes, a live band, and they're just crushing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we just got to find ways to remind people that a live performance can be that entertaining.
Right.
You know, that it's just that interesting.
Man, maybe people are just thinking they're getting all these live music experiences by scrolling on Instagram and seeing that.
Because it does look cool, right?
Yeah.
Like these people do cool stuff on there. It's just, and it's fine. Like if you're at work scrolling or something, it's cool to watch that. But do you remember the first concert you ever went to?
Elton John.
Yeah. Okay. That's a great example.
Yeah.
You can listen to those records all you want, right? Or you can stream it, but nothing probably compares to that show.
Dude, I mean, well, I was in 6th grade, so.
But still, had you ever seen anything like that?
No, I mean, it was at American Airlines Center, seeing the nosebleeds and watching him walk out in his like dragon cape, and I I think he just had vocal surgery at that time, so everything was down like a fourth or fifth. Like his voice just couldn't get as high as he used to be able to.
But still, when you see someone on that professional of a level just nail a song, you're like, damn.
Yeah, no, it was really inspiring.
Magical.
Yeah, I remember my dad took me to a bunch of concerts growing up, like them and Rolling Stones and Motley Crue and Aerosmith, and I was like, dude, that's what I want to do.
Who do you think was the one that really hit you the most when you were coming up and just going to concerts?
Man, honestly, Aerosmith.
Yeah.
I saw him at I think it was Jexa back in the day, which is now Dos Equis, I think.
It changes all the time.
Yeah. Or Starplex, whatever.
Yeah, you're good. I'm just paranoid about this camera for some reason. Hold on.
All right.
Okay. I swear I remember hitting record, and then I was just like,
dude,
fuck, did I hit record?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Dude, I do that all the time.
So you were talking about watching Aerosmith at Jexa, and
man, it was just super inspiring. Honestly,
had you been listening to Aerosmith already?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, huge.
So you knew the
huge
songs
classic rock guy. You know, that's so. I grew up when School of Rock and Guitar Hero were coming out, so it was like this huge resurgence of like all those old songs, just inspiring. You know, folks who were born in like the early '90s, mid '90s. It's kind of lighting the flame for all of us to get super hard into.
What were you listening to before that? Did you have like a
man? A lot
were you
of
listening to things, or was music just kind of there?
Man, it, just George Strait and Stevie Ray Vaughan was kind of what my folks always had on at home.
So you had good music
like Texas
lovers at home.
music, yeah. But mainly my dad.
Yeah, but you're talking about like one of the best singers and one of the best guitar players right there.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Aerosmith has always fascinated me because I was in a band one time, and there were two guitarists in the band, right? Me and another guy. And he did not mean this as an insult, but I always took it as an insult.
What did he tell you?
We were jamming one day, working on something, and he was like, it wasn't clicking. He's like, it's just the issue is just like, I'm like a lead guy, like I like these lead parts. He's like, and you're just like a riff guy. And it's like I knew what he meant, but in the moment I was like, what the fuck do you mean just a riff guy? Like in my mind, I was so insulted because I was thinking of these great bands, and Aerosmith is one of them, where the riff was everything.
Yeah, it's like the whole song.
That's
like,
what
I can't even tell you one word of it.
That's what made it so, because he was always like chords and solo, and solo, and I always wanted some kind of hook with your guitar part.
Yeah.
Because I would think of those great classic rock bands, right? Like AC/DC is another one where the rhythm, the riff was always the hook.
Absolutely.
All the songs kind of sound the same. They're just a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you ever got into the Toadies, bands like that.
Man, I really did not.
Even if you don't like them, though, you can listen to their music and you're like, oh, it's a riff. It's always a riff.
Yeah.
There's always a defining rhythm thing happening. And so that's what I always think about with Aerosmith. It's like, yeah, he's a great solo guitarist, but he has all those guitar parts where you hear 5 seconds and you're like,
instantly.
It's that song. It's that one.
Yep.
So that would have been an incredible concert.
Oh, they're great. Yeah, Motley Crue was opening for him that one. Funny enough, and
wow,
I think I might have been like 14 or 15 at the time, but I think Motley Crue like had like video screens of like people like having sex on it.
Who took you? Your dad?
Yeah, my dad. It's my dad and my brother David. And
it's a long way from George Strait, isn't
this
it?
is a mistake. And like, you know, Mick Mars is all about like the Satan stuff up there. And, you know, we grew up in the church.
So y'all did not tell everyone on Sunday about the concert?
Yeah, no sir.
Friday.
No sir. Yeah.
So when did you get that first guitar again?
Man, must have been whatever you are in fourth grade, like 8 or 9.
Oh, wow, so you got one young.
Maybe 10. Yeah, and I really didn't take it seriously till high school. You know, I was like, man, I think I want to do this. And then I started, you know, getting really serious about lessons and actually do what my teacher was telling me to do. And and that's what got me kind of into the whole jazz realm, is because I think everyone I knew at that time, or like, you know, my teachers up there, and they're talking about all these guys that make a living doing music, and all of them went to UNT. So it's just, I kind of got in my head, it's like, okay, well, if I want to make a living playing music, I got to go to UNT. And to go to UNT, you have to be good at jazz. So I think most of high school, I really kind of dived into jazz and kind of forced myself to like it.
I was going to say, how long until you actually enjoyed it? Like,
man,
were you just grinding through because you thought, or did you like it from the start?
I liked like the Dizzy Gillespie, like kind of big band, like kind of lighthearted jazz. Like I've always loved that stuff. You know, Frank Sinatra, like who doesn't love that, right?
Right.
But like the more like modern fusion jazz, I actually still don't really love. Like it's awesome, amazing musicianship, but I'm not going to go sit down and listen to that for like an hour.
It's always been that fine line of experimentation and is it listenable?
Yeah, it's maybe I just never got to that playability on guitar where I could like really understand what they're doing. But I would go to sleep listening to like a Wes Montgomery album because they were like, yeah, you got to listen to it all the time. Like most of being good at jazz is just listen. Or actually, really, all music is just listening.
Who was telling you that? That you got to listen to it
probably
all the time?
like
the person giving you lessons, or
probably just old YouTube clip, or you know, I went to jazz camps growing up. They're like, you got to get it in your head, man, get it in your ears. If it's not in there, it's never gonna come through on the instrument. So yeah, I would literally just fall asleep with my iPod in and listen to, I think it was Wes Montgomery Smoking at the Half Note album, which I really love, and I like Mow the Lawn, listen to all that stuff, and it really grew on me after that, and I love jazz now.
Yeah. It's one of those, I mean, you just forget how good it makes people.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just not popular music anymore.
It really isn't, man.
But it's the skill level. Like when you see a player who can play that well and still make it something that's listenable to kind of the layman person.
Right.
You're like, fuck, that person's really good. Like now I know just enough to know they're so much better than me.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking a little bit past the listen. I'm going like, look at all these people who just listen to that.
Yeah.
And they don't even care that it's difficult.
Right.
You know, they made it so difficult, but it's still enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's like, God, you're fucking good. You know?
Yeah, I feel like Wes Montgomery's the king of that, man. He can play so simply and play the most intricate thing out there, and just always super listenable. But I feel like jazz, for like a learning the instrument perspective, like that is like the one genre that like you learn your instrument kind of inside and out, trying to become competent with all that.
Yeah. I've always felt that's always the weak point in my playing, is that I just never had any type of formal stuff. And I didn't have the discipline to go that route. You know, it's like when you're young, I feel like a lot of people kind of go two paths. Like, do you want to get very technically proficient, or do you want to just try to have like a lot of style?
Man.
And when you're in, you know, I picked a guitar up when I was 14 or 15, so it's all about girls, right? So you're going style. You're trying to just be cool and like, I hope they like this.
Yeah.
And then so you always think like, God, man, if I would have just started focusing harder on the technical aspect back then,
right?
Like, where would your playing be?
Man,
you know?
I don't know. There's still a lot of guys who are just like style dudes, or like groove based guitar players who are just getting a lot of work. And like I feel like a lot of those dudes who I can't even think of anyone's name off the top of my head right now, but who maybe weren't like sitting in their practice room running scales all day and trying to like play as fast as they can, but if they could produce, you know, cool tones and like good feel, it's like, to me that seems like more valuable than just the super crazy fast licks.
Yeah, but I think the difference is you have that in your tool chest, right?
Sure.
You can, once you have the technical, like your technical abilities are far above mine, you can find a style if you want. You can sit down and dig around and find a style. It may take you a little longer, but I can't sit down for 15 minutes and pick up that technical ability.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's going to be years of practicing.
Yeah.
And so that's
I just don't feel like I'm cool enough to have like this like swagger whenever I play. I'm just not that guy.
Well, with the record you just put out, Tell You Ride Texas, I mean, do you not feel like you have a style of your own yet? Because I feel like I'm hearing a Mike Tuck guitar player now, not a guy who plays this genre.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Man, I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like that's closer to me kind of having my own voice, if you want to call it that, on that album for sure. And you know, that's what I sound like. If you want to hear what I sound like on guitar, that's a very accurate representation of what I sound like. And that's kind of really why I wanted to do it. And, you know, we kind of hit on this earlier when we were kind of getting things set up, but it's like, you know, I'm a quote-unquote independent artist, and I use the term artist very lightly. I'm just sideman. I just like playing guitar, you know, and I just really wanted to put something out that I thought was fun and cool, and that's kind of why I did it. You know, it's like I'm not going to see any of the money I made back from that.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what these records are about. I think it's about you. I think this is the process of, like I said, you're finding your Mike Tuck sound,
Sure.
And I don't think it's fully there.
Yeah.
But I love the record because it's this marker of here's where I'm exploring with these sounds.
Right.
And we're getting a glimpse of who you are as a player.
Sure.
And then it's going to grow from that. Because this from how many chicken pickins did you do? 1 or 2?
I did 2.
2 chicken pickins.
Yeah.
Right. So the evolution from the chicken pickins, which technically proficient, right?
Sure.
But this is starting to get more in. I feel like you're getting more into the style thing that you think you can't get into.
Well, man, I appreciate that. And
I think you're just, because you've messed with it for so long, it doesn't feel like that. But when you're outside like me and I only hear your work, I hear you do something probably a couple times a year, right?
Sure.
And then it's like, oh, okay. I get to go, wow, he's getting better.
Nah. Man, it's funny you did say that. It's a guy here in town, actually lives really close to here. His name is James Driscoll. He's bass player. He's been around forever. Awesome sweetheart of a dude. But he told me, like, always record yourself, put stuff out, because it's like a time capsule.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is what I sound like at 30, and that's what I sounded at 25, and you can kind of hear a difference in that.
Yeah, why wait for that perfect record or anything? It doesn't exist.
Absolutely, man. I'm a big believer in just put it out there. Like, if you wait till perfection, you're never going to do it. And that's kind of how I approach everything I put on Instagram too.
Well, I mean, that's part of what I've loved about doing this podcast is, I interview musicians and comics, and I've just learned I really love these two forms of art, and I'm learning a lot about the comic side that I didn't know because most of my background was in music.
Sure.
And there are so many crossovers that I just never thought of.
Really?
Yeah, and one of them is exactly what you talked about. So the guy Lawrence that we just worked with, by the way, go watch Trina out now on YouTube. That's part of what we talked about is he's been working on this stuff for years, this material. And he's like, I'm ready to let it go. Like, I'm not going to move on to this new stuff if I have this as a crutch.
Yeah.
And
right.
So a lot of his mindset was, I feel like it's as good as it's ever going to be. I need to record it and it's done.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
If I can put that away now, then I'll perform new stuff. I'll
Right.
have to.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to be the guy who performs the stuff that he already recorded,
Yeah.
which is a little different from music, but I think if you wait on putting out an album, that's what you'll do. You'll lean on like, I'll make it eventually.
Sure.
I'll make it better.
Yeah, man, it's easy to kick the can down the road for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. The other similarities are open mics. You guys all, like, the comics live and die by these open mics.
Really?
That's the way they get better.
Yeah,
they
try
have
out
to have it.
new licks.
Yeah,
new
exactly.
jokes.
And that's, to the point about your open jam, it's like, I think we need more of that for musicians to collaborate.
Absolutely.
I mean, think of all these people who have great ideas but aren't getting to jam with somebody.
Yeah.
Even if they do, like you said, even if they do just like fuck it up for 30 minutes.
Dude, that's
what we all did like growing up.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to be in an environment, at least occasionally, where it's okay if you fall on your face, if you go reach for something, and that's part of the whole thing is, I try not to play the same solos every night. Like I just, before every tune, I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens,
How do y'all do it? Is it, do you come in there with a full band of like, here's some of the things we're going to play just to get it going?
So we've got a core group of dudes kind of interchange out, actually. Bass player, drummer, fiddle are there every week. We got a guy in steel, and we'll just play songs from the country music songbook, like Merle Haggard, George Strait stuff. And if someone knows a song and can like yell out the chords during it, we'll just try to make it happen. And then
awesome. So like if there's somebody who wanted to sing, they could probably pop up on stage and sing a song with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we got someone who wanted to do a Zach Brown song we never heard, but just pull it up on our phones and listen to it for like 30 seconds. We're like, okay, we can probably fumble our way through this.
Yeah.
But for that person to got up on stage, like they've never done that before. So to play one of their favorite songs they sing along to in the car with a real band is like, oh my God, they're loving it. So it's really cool when that does happen.
I think that's a big part of what we're missing.
Yeah.
Is because if you have someone showing up every Tuesday to maybe they're just singing that one song every Tuesday, but it's getting them in with a music community.
Absolutely.
And someone's like, are you tired of singing this one song? Maybe we could like jam at my house one day and write some stuff or do some other songs. And
man, it's
that's how you get the ball roll. You can't do that as easily on, fucking TikTok and Instagram.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just so, I mean, I don't know how you did it. When I was starting bands when we were young, it's like you get a garage or somebody's bedroom or something and you jam out. And it's really shitty for a long time. For a long time. You know?
No, I did that too, for sure. And, that's like all I did middle school and high school. and we just sucked.
Yeah. But don't you, I mean, I look back on those days so fondly of
Absolutely.
being a horrible,
Yeah.
horrible guitar player. And I'm not saying I'm a good one now, but just we were real shitty.
But I feel like maybe back then your ear's just not developed at all, so it's like you don't know how bad you are, so you're like, hell yeah, dude, I'm killing it. So
Well, and I also think you're just so psyched. Like I pushed down these metal strings and a noise came out that wasn't complete dog shit. You know, there was something
right.
familiar. Like if you're learning a song, like we were learning, I learned a lot of. I originally started learning classic rock, but then when I found a bass player to jam with, that's when we got into like punk rock music.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, it's all power chords. I can learn
Absolutely.
this real quick, and then
Yeah.
I got somebody I can jam with.
Yes.
Like I can actually
Yeah.
play with another person. And so, yeah, it's all pretty shitty. You're just learning
Right.
like Green Day songs and
Dude,
stuff.
yeah, I was a big Sum 41 guy growing up.
That is one of the best concerts I ever went to.
Oh, no way.
I caught them. We were one of the punk bands I was in. We were following around Warped Tour trying to sell CDs at the gates.
Dude, that's awesome.
It was a lot of fun. And so every day we would kind of sneak in and try to watch what we could.
I think I remember you telling me that.
It's a long story. I don't want to get it, but it basically they were like cool with us as long as we weren't sneaking in all the time. And so because we looked the part, everybody just thought we were on the tour.
Right.
So yeah, when we got up by one of the, it was one of the stops where it's on the border of the U.S. and Canada because they're a Canadian band, right? And they were on like just that stop, so we were like, oh, I got to go see this. And I'll never forget, they came up and it was a festival show, right? And sound can always be dicey on a festival show.
Sure, yeah.
It just depends on the sound guy and the way the wind's blowing that day or whatever. They were the only band I ever saw that had turned all their amps around facing backwards. So
Sum 41?
Sum 41. All the amps were facing away from the crowd.
Huh.
I guess so they could just trust that it was going through the PA.
Yeah.
And like, y'all do the PA. And it sounded incredible. And for like a juvenile pop punk band, they were like the tightest performance.
Man, they
Rock
had a great
solid.
guitar player, too.
The lead guy?
Yeah, they had four dudes in the band for a while, and then I stopped seeing that guy in their pictures.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're doing like a final reunion tour soon or something. But
what's the lead singer's name again?
I don't remember.
Gosh,
I can picture him.
I used to have a freaking picture of him on my bedroom wall.
But I think that's another reason I loved a band like that so much is they were always cool on the radio, and then when I saw them live, they were so tight. And then like even during this conversation, it's like, you know what? The lead singer, that's another riff guy. They wrote riffs for their songs. It's catchy. Yeah. It's nothing that's difficult. It's just, I know this immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just shocked that a little pop punk band was going to be this tight performance where you're like, fuck, this was really good. Like, I feel like I've watched an incredible free show right now.
Dude, I'm going to go back and listen to Sum 41 on the way home.
It's better than you think. And then, you know, they had some kind of issue. They went overseas somewhere and they got caught in like a I can't remember what it was. They were somewhere. I want to say it was Africa, but that feels cliche because I just think of a jungle in Africa. I don't know. But they were in an environment like that, and something happened where there was like a military thing going on, and there's like shots being fired because they had an album after the really poppy ones called Chuck. Because that was the guy. Chuck was the guy who pulled them out of that environment. He was like a military guy or something. So that album's like a little more serious, and it's like a little heavier. And when you go back and listen to it now, you're like, "Fuck, that's a good album."
Yeah.
Like, but I think because they were a pop punk band and everything, it just goes over people's heads.
Really?
You know? Yeah, because it's not juvenile fun anymore. Now
I remember
trying to teach me something.
Like,
you know?
Does That Look Infected? That album kind of got that started getting a little heavier too.
Yeah. Well, they loved the hard rock, like the stuff we were talking about.
Yeah.
They just happened to be a pop punk band.
Yeah.
So they
but
would
great
incorporate
players too.
Yeah, so they would incorporate, like they'd mix a little bit of that in without it getting too, 80s on you. But yeah, Sum 41, man. I don't know how we went down that, but it just, again, music. It's like every single song is like a fond memory of something.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, man, I just remember distinctly I bought all their albums and I was like, man, I've already invested $40 in this band, so I got to love them forever. I don't know why I thought that, but it was before Spotify. It's like these are the CDs I have. This is what I can listen to.
Yeah, like it was a curse because you didn't have all the music, but it was also awesome.
Yeah,
it's like
you really got to know the album.
Yeah, like if you bought it, it was a commitment. Like, even if it fucking sucked, you were like, I'm giving it 5 full plays before I throw it away.
Back when Target had a big CD section.
Oh, dude. Well, I grew up out in like Nevada area.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm over in Princeton.
Yeah. Well, that's why I can finally say like Nevada and Copeville, because most people don't know where those areas are.
Yeah.
But we would make the trip into Plano because they had the CD warehouse.
Oh no way.
Yeah, and it was when you still had players, so you could pop a CD out of a case, give it a listen, see if you liked it before you bought it.
Yeah.
And just like flipping through stuff. It's back when album art really mattered, because you're like, this looks cool. This has got to be good.
Right.
I luckily vinyl's kind of bringing that back. But
absolutely.
What does Pat Green do? What's his merch like?
I actually do the merch for Pat.
Do you for real? Slinging merch?
I do not create it.
Well, no, but you're selling it?
Well, I set it up. I count it in.
Mm-hmm.
I count the money. And then we've got some sellers to come out. But yeah, Pat's been, back to Pat being a sweetheart, he kind of threw me a bone to help me out to do the merch.
What sells the most right now? Is it still just shirts?
Shirts. So we don't do any hard merch. I think it's called hard merch, just like a CD or something. So that's a lie. He's got one vinyl of his most recent record, Miles and Miles of You. I think he put out in 2022. That rhymed. What's up? But yeah, we actually don't even bring that out on every show. I'm not sure why, but yeah, he's got his Wave on Wave shirt does the best, and his logo that he's had since like 1998 is like the best seller, because that's what people kind of remember the most.
Yeah, it's merch always fascinates me, because it's such a tool to make money with. Yeah, but it's such a gamble on. Are we about to order 1,000 of these?
Right.
And then we don't fucking sell them.
Well, man, Pat tours enough to where it's like throughout the year he'll sell them. But dude, he cleans up on merch. He does real well.
Well, you have to now. There's nothing else to. Yeah. I mean, even a guy like him, it's like you're not making money off CD sales anymore.
Sure.
And it's lame. You got to figure we got to figure something out. Like the Spotify thing.
Oh my gosh.
And look, I use Spotify. I'm a hypocrite, right?
Oh, I do too.
I use it. I pay for the premium. I'm a hypocrite.
I listen an hour every day.
It's like, they make so much money.
Oh my gosh.
And they give so little.
I know.
And we're all somehow okay with it. And we don't know how to change it, but we don't like it.
Yeah.
And it's just, I catch myself thinking, like, is it that hard to create an app? Like, can we make,
But then again, it's like,
can we make new Spotify that pays, it's 50-50 or something?
Yeah.
I mean, because don't they make like $1 billion? I think they're very successful.
I'm sure.
And so, can't you pay more than like pennies on a stream?
Man, I think I wrote a song with a buddy of mine, and I think it's almost at 100,000 streams or something under him as the country singer named Buck Ford. And I think I'll get like $10 from that or something.
Like a month or
just in total
forever. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's
maybe not that much.
Yeah.
I guess you can quote me if you take the clip, but
yeah, I mean,
don't quote me.
$10. Yeah, but and it's just it's one of those professions, right? You don't see everything that goes into it.
Yeah.
So it's real easy to not think that there's value there. But man, $10. That sucks, dude.
Hey.
Buck,
I'm gonna spend
did you say it was Buck Ford?
Yeah.
That's the guy who's on your record singing,
yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah.
With silky pipes.
Yeah.
Dude, he's got a cool voice, man.
He's awesome, man. He's got a few records. He put out a record called I'm Getting There in 2022, and I think I wrote like half the songs on that record with him.
I didn't know you were writing so much.
Man, I kind of go through phases, and then I'll start to write and be like, I really suck, so I'm going to put this down for a while.
Well, since you don't sing, how do you like to write? Are you just writing arrangements?
No, I'll write the lyrics and I'll try to squawk out something to send to another singer. Like I've got an original on my record called Songs for Sale that I wrote, I think the choruses for and the verses, but then my buddy Matt Van Heel, drummer, sweetheart, great friend of mine, kind of rewrote the stuff to make it make a little more sense. And then we just hired a session demo singer from Nashville to sing on it. We were like, we want someone kind of sounds like Brad Paisley / Blake Shelton.
Yeah. That's awesome. I didn't know you'd gotten into writing like that.
Yeah.
How was it the first time you kind of attempted to sing the lyrics you wrote for someone else to hear and
Man,
criticize?
I think
because that's such a vulnerable
dude.
position when you're not a singer and you're like, were you like doing it on your phone or how?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
I think I might have even did it all up on Logic and like tried to auto tune. Like if you suck, like you suck. Like auto tune's not going to save you.
No.
And luckily, you know, I feel like I preface everything before I send it to someone. It's like, dude, listen, I'm not a singer, but if you can get the melody out of what I sing,
picture it.
Yeah, and that's what's the really fun thing about not being a great singer is, you know, getting an idea down, producing it all out, you know, getting all the guitars and bass and drums and fiddle and steel done, and then send it to a great singer. And then once you get that back, it's like, you know, waiting for Christmas. You finally hear that, you're like, hell yeah, dude, there's that song. That's what I pictured.
That's interesting. Yeah, because that's a lot of people would want the glory, you know.
Oh, sure.
But that's fun that you're able to just pass it off. And, and
but man,
let it become something.
Man, speaking of, like, I'm not a good singer at all, but I sing solo gigs all the freaking time now.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah. I'm terrible. But I'm just passable enough to where people won't walk out.
Well, if they're hiring you, you can't be bad.
But
you've got to be all right.
I don't play any venues where it's like, oh, we got tickets to go see Mike Tuck. No, I'm in the corner of the bar, just kind of like.
But you could clear the room if you were awful.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
Like, no one will appreciate you because you're not great, but they're not leaving because you suck either.
Yeah.
You're in a nice little spot.
I think the thing is you have to play songs that people will recognize, and then you can kind of get away with being a little crappier singer.
So how much are you playing right now? Are you playing like almost every night?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
Man, it's I'm really lucky to do it. It's crazy, you know. I'm married, I got 2 kids. My wife's stay-at-home mom. Praise God, I'm very fortunate for that, but it's yeah, it's crazy. Every month I pay all my bills. I'm like, man, that was a close one.
Yeah. I had this guy in here, Matt Tedder. Have you heard of him?
Oh, dude, I love
Matt Tedder.
Dude, he's a sweetheart, man.
Okay. Well,
such a great player.
I never know how much some of these Fort Worth guys that have their solo bands going, where I have a real hard time of gauging, like, do people know about you? Because you're incredible, but the streams aren't going out of control or anything. You know? And I don't think they have the means to just tour endlessly or anything. So I don't have a good gauge on how well known they are within the community. But I was talking to him about,
he's a heavy hitter on the scene for sure. Like everyone knows Matt Tedder.
Feels
you know
that way. Yeah. And that's what I was talking to him about. Is he, you know, when he's not doing his own stuff, he's always got work, and it's like,
yeah, that's where I met him, man. We were on, we were playing at Dos Equis last summer. It was like he's in the opening band. I was playing with Pat, and we were opening for Parker McCollum or something.
Okay.
I was like, dude, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm just playing lead guitar for this guy tonight.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about, those forget the money, forget all that. It's like, how cool is it that you're just getting better and better because you get to play every fucking day?
Dude, that's important to me, you know? I want to continually improve, and I'm nowhere near as good as I'd like to be, you know?
Which evolution of your playing up to this point, right? Because I feel like you've had these blocks, right? You had your Van Halen phase, which is a great band to start with, right? And then you had your jazz phase and a little stint at UNT.
Yes, sir.
And then
I failed out.
But you were there working with these people, right?
Sure.
And then Air Force.
Yes, sir.
And before Air Force and after Air Force has been touring country music, right? What block of that, if you had to choose, do you feel like ramped up your playing the most? Like what
Air
block?
Force.
Really?
No doubt.
Okay.
Because I had all the time in the world.
Really?
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. I like think about my schedule in the Air Force now, just how crazy busy I am. Just, you know, late nights, early morning. Like tomorrow I got to get up at like 6 and go teach until like 3:30. Which getting up at 6 when you're a musician sucks.
It just sucks, period.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But dude, I had all the time in the world to practice, and you know, I really improved in the Air Force because they give you time in your workday to practice.
What was a workday like when you were a military musician? Or what is the actual title? I don't want to say it incorrectly.
It's regional bandsman, I think.
Regional bandsman.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to disrespect the position. Excuse me.
No, oh my gosh, it was sick. So, you know, it was 9 to 5 basically. But I think what I can recall is we would get on bass maybe around 8:30. Then we'd have a rehearsal with our whatever group you're in within the squadron. And I was in like basically like the wedding cover band type music. Like, you know, we'd play a little jazz, a little Miley Cyrus, some country stuff. But we would rehearse from like maybe 9 to 11:30. then we go work out for an hour, then go to lunch, come back maybe like 1:30, check our emails, do like any sort of like Air Force requirement stuff, and then practice. And then so within the squadron, you everyone has like an additional duty. Like I think mine was I was in the library, so we had like a big orchestra too, or that's not the right term. There weren't any strings, whatever.
Ensemble?
Symphonic band.
I don't know.
It had like clarinets and oboes and stuff. I'm so uneducated. Full of percussion.
Wind section. I don't know.
Which is why I was so unfit to be in the library, because which is you just have like the band leader or whatever you call it for the symphonic band would be like, okay, we need these songs this week, so you just pull them from the stacks and get them and put them in a folder. And I somehow did a very bad job at that. I was like maybe the worst administrative employee they had there.
It's good enough for government work, right? Right?
Absolutely. Dude, you have to like kill someone or get like 10 DUIs to get fired from the military, it seems like. Or do drugs.
Yeah. So yeah, it was like wake up, play, work out, do a little bit of busy work,
great.
play.
God, I was so ripped. And now, if you're looking at the video, clearly I'm not.
Oh,
maybe
man.
I'll blame COVID or getting married with kids. I don't know what to blame.
Dude, we got all that. We can make excuses if we need excuses. Yeah, because I remember seeing. I can't remember what it was, but you were on an NFL stage at one
Looking
point.
good. I'm sure.
What was that game? Was it just a random NFL game?
Man,
or was
funny
like
enough,
Thanksgiving
just in
or something?
time, it was the 49ers who are playing the Super Bowl next week because of us, I'm sure. No, it was like a salute to service, like Veterans Day thing. They
That's right.
Freaking national television. Like,
Yeah. I remember seeing the clips going, because weren't you guys doing like a Led Zeppelin song or something?
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
Whoa.
We
hell
did.
yeah.
It was sponsored by the car company Genesis. So they took us to San Francisco. They did a car commercial for their Genesis car, which is just crazy. It was like crazy work day. And then they kind of panned to us playing. We played like an Imagine Dragons song, I think, for the first one. I can't even remember what it's called now, but yeah, national TV. I mean, everything was pre-recorded. We recorded in our squadron.
Yeah. What was that like playing with the pre-recorded thing? Or
I love it.
What's the whole experience of just like pre-recording it, and like do you go through like 20 takes because you need it to be perfect, or like how do you?
I think we just did it till we got it right, and I think that put more weight on the folks mixing it to make sure that came across. But I love the pre-recorded thing. No pressure.
Yeah.
Just don't fall down.
Did you were you plugged in?
I think I like.
Because you remember that controversy with the Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Yes,
right? They were like, their instruments aren't even plugged in, and
Right.
everyone else is like, we know.
Yeah.
We know the gimmick now. Like,
Man, speaking of with the Grammys last night, I wonder how much that is pre-recorded too.
I don't know. And I become a little bit of a snob. Like, I get it at the Super Bowl because, or a football game, because the logistics of setting up.
Pushing a stage out
of
there.
setting up a whole stage in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know? And if you do make it happen, like, great, you're phenomenal. But
a lot of it seemed live last night, I got to say.
I'll have to watch it. I didn't watch it. But
yeah, it was cool. I enjoyed it.
I get a little snobby because I think that's one of the things. I think if you're a pop artist, you should strive for incredible live shows. Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the Grammys are going to be pop artists, right?
Sure.
The performances.
Yeah, I didn't know like half of them.
Yeah, which is fine. But it's like, I want you to wow. I want it to be real vocals, even if you screw up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, love them or hate them. People like Madonna, Prince, like these big pop icons.
Entertainers, right?
They're entertainers. And, even Taylor Swift, not a fan, but I respect the work.
Oh, my God. My wife loves her so much.
I don't dislike her. It's not me, right? But when you hear about her, running on a treadmill while she sings her full catalog before her tour,
it's pretty badass.
It's like, yeah, thank you. People are spending a shitload of money.
Yeah.
Put on a show.
Her show's like 3 hours long or something. Her most
apparently she was
tour.
running on a treadmill for like 2.5, 3 hours.
That's pretty awesome.
And singing so that, and I remember hearing stories of, Lady Gaga doing similar things where you're practicing all of your singing while you're practicing all your choreography so that you're nailing the notes while you're doing these moves. And I don't think every band has to be that way, but I think if you're a pop star, you have to be that way.
Yeah.
Like
if you're not up there ripping on guitar,
you
gotta,
are an entertainer. Like, show us what feels impossible.
Man,
and
to your point, I've been thinking about that too. Is just with on Instagram, a lot of the dudes who seem to do really well, like on their stuff to get a bunch more views, like they look like they're enjoying it. They look like they're having fun, hammering it up. I look like I want to kill myself in most of the videos I post, and I'm trying to not look like that, but to do anything like forced makes me feel so ungenuine, like I want to punch myself in the face. But it works. Like some dudes will like literally like stare at the camera like the whole time, and I'm like, dude, stop, please. But they're crushing it,
That is the jaded road dog musician in you. You've just played so many shows that we need to find a way to reignite the wonderment of music. Like you got to, before you make those videos, you just got to remind yourself that you live in this awesome point in time and in your life where you can pick up a fucking cell phone and play for potentially, 8 billion people.
That's true.
And like that should psych you up a little bit. Like, yeah, there's always a little cheese ball.
Never thought about that.
There's always a little cheese ball thing to it. But if you could get all 8 billion people to sample your music, I bet you'd have like 10 million fans. You know what I mean? Like just numbers wise.
Sure. Numbers game.
That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
That's not a major percentage. And if you had 10 million fans right now waiting for you to put something out,
I could at least pay my bills.
Right. So I think that's what you got to remind yourself. You have been in a couple generations of music now, right? Like before social media played such a huge part in it.
Sure.
And then it flipped the switch, and now there's all these people who do just make those videos, and they're making a killing.
Oh my gosh.
And it seems so unfair, right?
Right.
But it's just the game always changes,
I know. You can't get too jaded of it. You just gotta
and so you just have to remind
punches.
yourself, like, you still get to play guitar all the time, and you're making a video of the thing you love to do, and hoping that it clicks with somebody.
I need to go in there next time with that attitude.
I mean, because that's one of the brilliant things about music too. Is nowadays there's no expiration date on it.
Right.
Like you can be 70 years old, and if you write a killer song, people love it.
Right.
I mean, when Johnny Cash redid that 9 Inch Nails song, and he was an elderly man,
That hurt?
People, people love that song.
Funny enough, I think when Pat was up for his Grammy, Johnny Cash was too for that.
Oh wow!
And Johnny Cash won it, and he was dead.
Wow.
I think Pat tells that story every gig we have.
That's awesome.
I love it.
How does he feel about that moment?
Oh,
I'm sure he loves Johnny Cash.
He laughs about it.
Yeah, I'm sure he loves Johnny Cash.
He's like, who's heard of that guy? No, it's funny. I love it.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, like all the social media stuff, I mean, it's all a blessing and a curse, right?
Right.
It's like fire. It keeps you warm, but it burns your house down. It just depends on what you want to do.
Sure.
But also, I mean, like, I do a podcast, and we just recorded that comedy special, and if it wasn't for all this social media stuff, none of it would be happening.
Yeah, what would you do with it,
Nothing. There'd be nothing. I mean, I have to wait for a radio show.
Or hit up PBS or some local show,
Growing up, we always listened to like morning radio on the way to school, like Kiss FM, like the Kid Craddock in the morning show. I don't know if you ever caught that, but
they grew up with whoever's on Lone Star 92.5.
Oh, so that would have been is it Bo and Jim?
That's right.
Bo and Jim. Yeah.
I think one of them just passed away.
Oh, that's sad. They're awesome. But if I was riding with my dad, I think we would do Bo and Jim.
Yeah.
I think that whoever was on 92.5, the staple for years.
Right.
And then if I was with my mom, it was Kiss FM, which was Kid Craddock.
Okay.
And so I think that's where the podcast stuff comes from. Is I think I always wanted a radio show.
Yeah.
And now all the technology we have, it's like this is as close to a radio show as you can get.
Yeah.
And then I know like radio shows now that are good radio shows, but you're kind of beholden to that commercial format.
Right.
You can do 10 minutes and then we got to get a commercial in.
Sure.
And you can't say whatever you want on the radio.
Absolutely not.
Right. And you got to be careful with your opinions because you've got these sponsors and, all that stuff. So in a way, I think the podcasting stuff's really freeing, even though they have a huge audience, obviously.
Absolutely.
But that audience can turn on you like that.
Oh, sure.
They don't care about you. They care about the station.
Yeah.
So that's how you got to think about music is you have ultimate freedom right now as a performer. You can do whatever you want, for better or worse, because you've got this platform.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we all can.
I don't think those guys cheese it up. Some of them do. I think some of them, though, are just really like, how fucking cool is this? I'm going to make a...
Man, that's cool.
3-minute
I'm
going to make a
jaded for that.
3-minute video. Well, how many clubs have you been in? How many shows have you performed at this point? It's
in the thousands, for sure.
And it's like, and it is as psyched as it is to do that. I mean, maybe you can attest. It's like the crowds can probably start to just be a mesh of the same people at every show.
Absolutely.
There's always
100%.
the people that are having a lot of fun, then the people who are a little too drunk,
and
then the guy who doesn't even know who the band is, and then the guy who's singing every word, and louder than the performance.
It's a mixed bag for sure. Yeah, it's funny, man.
The
It's
person who
like,
comes and talks to you at the end of the show for like an hour and a half, and you're just trying to pull away.
man, since I quit drinking, those have been so much harder to endure. I'm like, this is way easier with like 6 beers in me. Like, I don't have it in me to BS with you all night, dude. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic, isn't it? Because that's your job.
Oh yeah,
like what?
I'm like way too nice to shut it and be done.
Of course.
So I mean, I'll talk to anybody.
But could you imagine, when your wife was having a baby, and you're just like, you're there with the nurse and the doctor, and you're just hammered, and you're just, you know what I mean? You're just wasted at their job.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's
and you're
funny
just like,
illustration.
I had a cousin, man. They had kids too. You're just talking way too loud because your ears are blown out. You're hammered, and they're like, we are trying to deliver a baby.
Oh my gosh.
You're like, yeah, man. Psyched
love
about
babies.
What this place? How long has this place been here? It's it's one of the few professions where you're sober and they're hammered.
Yeah.
And they're out on a Friday night having a good time.
Yeah,
and this is like a Wednesday for you.
Right. Yeah. That's really funny, man. Man, funny enough, when we had our 4-year-old now, he was born in our upstairs apartment in Dixon, California, in a tub.
birth?
Oh yeah, my wife champed it out.
The doula and all that stuff. Or
I think I was technically the doula.
Oh my God!
It was just me and my wife all day until and her mom until like she went into labor like 6 a.m.
Was this the second child or the first child?
So I've got a stepson as well.
Okay,
so
okay.
I wasn't there for that one, obviously.
Okay, I misunderstood. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was the only birth that you were a part of.
Yes, sir.
It was a home birth.
Yeah, I think I started out that day with a White Claw. I was big into White Claw back then.
Wow. That concept of home birth, I understand why people choose to do that.
Sure.
And I cannot get on board with it because I'm just too freaked out about like, what if we need an ICU right now?
Dude, I mean, that's
you know
very
what I mean?
valid.
Like I'm not going to shame anybody's beliefs. If you want to do it that way, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, absolutely not. No way.
It's scary.
I want medical science very nearby.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did it sounds like it was more her decision to do that?
I mean, I didn't know anything about it.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
But
So
my wife
what
back then
motivated
was
her to do
she
it?
was a doula.
Okay.
Already into that, and she's in training to be a midwife right now, actually. So that's like kind of her whole world there.
So she's in that territory then.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess that makes you feel better knowing she knows what she's doing.
Yeah, because I didn't. I was freaked out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, like I said, I have my boy's almost 4, so we're in similar. I guess we had our kids about a similar
Was he
time.
born in 19?
No, February 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's about to be 4.
He's about to be 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So yours is about like 8 months or something older.
Sure. Yeah, he's born
year.
in September 19.
Okay. Yeah.
19.
So they're close, and it's like we had our baby at a hospital and stuff. I don't have to do shit.
Yeah, right.
And I'm still like, you're still just full of nerves.
Yeah, I do. I mean, because so much can go wrong. It's
all
a terrifying process.
All I'm doing is holding a leg.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I'm like, all right, I
don't even think I did that.
I need a fucking good stance here.
Yeah.
Like, I can't let the leg drift. Who cares if your arm's getting tired?
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. That's wild. We're about to do it again here in August.
Who tells you to cut the cord when you're at home? Her?
I think our midwife.
Oh, so you had a midwife?
Yeah,
then?
she came later in the night.
And you cut it?
Yeah.
It's
I'm
weird,
pretty
right?
sure. And then we bagged up the placenta and I threw it in the dumpster.
Just like a regular old trash bag?
For the raccoons, man. A little grocery bag, actually.
I didn't know.
I don't think that's very sanitary.
Well, it's trash, right? How sanitary is the trash? I don't know what I thought the umbilical cord was going to feel like, but it felt like nothing like what I expected.
I don't know. Remember.
It was just the weirdest thing I've ever cut in my life.
I was just like so overwhelmed with everything going on.
Yeah. I mean, I was overwhelmed in the hospital, so I can only imagine how much more overwhelming that would be at your house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like
Crazy.
in our birth, he had the cord wrapped around.
Oh no.
So we would have been really not. I mean, we wouldn't have known what we were doing anyway.
Sure.
But
yeah.
I'm assuming a midwife and a doula. They've got that has to have happened.
Was
They
it
know
like
what to
wrapped
do.
around his neck?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Wrapped
I hate
around his
that.
neck.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I guess it happens.
Yeah.
He's fine.
All the time, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Man, and so you got another one on the way. You're going to do a home birth again, you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She's all about it.
For sure. For sure. And she's got me on board. She listens to a podcast all the time about it. And
Well, I mean, it's
by
not,
osmosis.
it's not like we're going to tell our wives how to give birth anyway. That's just not going to happen, right?
Right.
I mean,
right.
if my wife told me, like, I think the best way to do this is in the back of a 98 Camry, I'd be like,
absolutely.
that's
what I was
you
thinking.
feel like that's what you need,
Here to support you. Sorry, I don't even know how we got there.
Oh, it's all good. Don't worry about that. But when did family? Were you in the Air Force whenever you guys got together?
Yeah, that's where I met my wife.
Yeah.
I was, I think, like 6 months in, and then she was bartender at this nice Italian restaurant. And my dad went with me, which is a very important part of the story. Because if it was just me there drinking, I would have had like 25 beers and blacked out at the bar, I'm sure. But my dad was there, so I was like, okay, I better not look like an absolute jackass. So
Yeah.
I kept it a little tame. So
So were you hitting on her in front of your dad?
a little bit. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. She was very pretty, is very pretty. I was just very nervous and just trying not to make an ass of myself. And
Did your dad know what was going on? Was he wingman for you a little bit?
I think he was trying. And I was
Yeah.
like, all right, Dad, let's knock it off here.
I don't know, man. Those don't count out those old dudes, man. They've got game. They got old school game.
Mark Tuck, yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Hey, he got you here, buddy.
Yeah, hey, that's right.
He got you
That's
here.
right,
All
that's
right.
right.
I'll never forget, man. I was at a comedy show, and this comic pulled up a younger guy and an older guy, and they both had like the older guy had his wife, younger guy had his date, and he was trying to do this bit where we're gonna end up probably shitting on the older guy for like not having his moves anymore, and so he was getting them to tell like, show me an example of like your dirty talk, like what are you gonna say to your woman?
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So already you're
Yeah.
and every time he goes to the young guy's just like kind of embarrassed and is like,
Yeah.
I don't know. He's like, that's all you got, man? Like this hot woman sitting here. We got you right. You got the microphone. Are you going to make something? And he just froze every time. Meanwhile, the guy who's wearing like his white New Balance, I'm probably exaggerating this how I
Yeah.
picture it, but I picture him in his white New Balance, jeans, tucked in shirt, phone clip probably.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That guy.
Got the works.
Before he even hands him the mic, he's already going into his like, baby, you look so good right now. Like, and every time he gets the mic, he just lays it on thick. And it's like they're like younger women in the crowd, like, whoo,
Yeah.
like this guy.
That's
oh
hilarious.
my God, he's gonna pop open that Cole shirt before we get out of here. Like,
Just miles on the road. He's got it down.
don't forget they've got that skill, man.
Absolutely.
Just like you never fight an old person. They're scrappy.
Yeah.
Don't ever
They
fight,
have to be.
Don't ever fight like a 50-year-old. You're gonna get your ass kicked. All right.
There go prison rules on you.
I mean, I don't think you fight anyway, but I don't fight either. But I'm just saying,
It's been a while.
don't do it. So yeah, y'all met in the Air Force, man, and then were you worried when you had a kid about staying in music,
Man,
or was it never even a question? How does that come up? Because
this is the only thing that I can get paid to do, paid well to do. Anything, any other field. Because I've thought about it too. It's like doing music really doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you got a family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially between just travel and pay and just kind of future and kind of building a legacy, I guess. But yeah, it was whenever I got out of the Air Force, we kind of got out because we didn't want to keep deploying and just get shipped around like every 2 years. And I was about to re-enlist and say, well, screw it, we'll figure it out. And then my buddy hit me up for the Pat Green gig, and I was like, well, that's just going to be what we're going to do now, and then I'll kind of figure out the next thing and kind of cobble together a living from there.
well, it's almost kind of those things. It's like perfect timing.
Yeah,
it's like
dude.
right when you're thinking about like, should I do
Yeah.
something different? Another
Absolutely.
opportunity rolls in.
Yeah, but man, I mean, especially now, I probably shouldn't. I should probably just not look back at this point, but just reality just has me like, man, well, maybe I should do something else, you know?
I think you just figure out how to. This is going to sound so lame, and I'm sorry. This is almost as bad as content. You should just find ways to diversify within music,
right?
Like what you're doing. Like you're writing songs, you're putting out your own stuff while you're performing with your steady gig with Pat, while you're doing these jams, while you're working on the other project where you're going to release more lessons and things.
Sure.
I think you just keep branching
out.
No, you
have to, man.
And it'll click on like that's the one.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah, man, I'm really trying to sink a lot more time into the lessons stuff this year. I mean, honestly, my dream is to just do that and just tour and just have a tour gig and just laugh my ass off.
Just release lessons and tour.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
If I could just do that and just the occasional session, which I've been doing a little more of those as well, which has been super fun and crazy hard too. Because man, I'm not a great session player. I gotta say,
what makes it difficult for you?
Man, it's, like everyone always says, everything's under a microscope. Your tuning has to be perfect. You have to have guitars with you that are going to stay in tune. You're going to have to know how to dial in whatever tone they're looking for, play a good part, play that part in time, play it in tune, and then, execute it as quickly as possible. Like, you don't want to hold up the session and have everyone waiting on you to do something that should take like 2 takes. Like if you take like 20 takes or something, then you're like wasting very expensive time.
Session stuff's always been interesting to me because it's so foreign,
Yeah.
Like I've spent time in studios, but it's never been in that aspect. So are you usually with like only an artist and an engineer, or is it a whole band? How have they gone for you usually?
Here lately, I've been working at the studio in Tyler called Rosewood, and they'll have me about once a month now, which I'm super thankful for. It's been freaking awesome. They'll have me on acoustic, which is awesome. It kind of helps me like kind of get my feet wet, kind of shake off a little more of the studio nerves. But on those, they'll have like 4 or 5 different artists throughout the day come in who are doing either songs they're going to put on the record or stuff for demo. But they'll have an artist come in, they'll bring out like an iPhone recording of them, like an acoustic guitar and the lyrics. They'll make a chart for us. Then we'll go into track, and there'll be everyone tracking the same time. There'll be lead guitar, bass, piano, me on acoustic, and a drummer. And then we'll just
get to work,
get a couple takes there, and then from there, usually that's when the lead guitar player has a lot more work than everyone else because there's only going to be one bass track. There's only going to be one track of drums, usually, unless he throws on some percussion. But, it's all about adding layers on lead guitar. So usually lead guitar guy has a lot more work than everyone else, or, I'll do a couple different acoustic.
So it sounds like you're primarily working with an engineer when you do that kind of session work. Or is the artist there going like, no,
usually,
not like that?
I've honestly only done like 5 sessions there, and usually most of the artists have been not hands off, but just kind of been like trusting the engineer to kind of give us more direction. Like the engineer will be like, maybe try something else, or he'll kind of take on the role as a producer because some of the guys who come in there, maybe this is their first time recording anything, so they really don't even know what to say. So.
Have you ever thought about the wide range of your experiences in music so far?
Man.
The fact that, because I think maybe you don't appreciate how versatile you are for the environments. The fact that you have been, on your, because I remember you telling me how much you hustled when you were a kid with your jazz trio.
Oh, sure.
That you guys were literally like paper and stuff and, doing your own shows and stuff, right? So you've got this element of like that live performance. You've got the country touring stuff. You've got the Air Force performance. You've got the session gigs. Like you've got a wide range of the types of venues and areas that you've performed in.
Man,
and the different types of stresses that they request of you.
Yeah. I guess I've never really taken stock of that.
It's far more than a lot of people.
Man, I suppose. I feel like every good, useful musician in Dallas or or Nashville, like we all like. You have to be versatile, I feel like very few guys can get away with just doing one thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, even like when I was talking, like, I know one of my all-time favorite guitar players. His name is Guthrie Trapp, but I know he I don't think he does the road thing anymore, but he does the online lessons thing, plays out all the time on Broadway, or not Broadway, just in Nashville, and then the sessions and whatnot and tours occasionally. So he's got like 4 different things he got going on there, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other stuff he doesn't even post about. But I don't know him personally. It's all just from seeing on Instagram. But I feel like it's just out of survival. You kind of learn. It's just opportunities present themselves, and then you're just kind of like, I think I could figure that out, because just like with the basic understanding of all your music skills, I feel like it's kind of easier to branch out from there.
Yeah, but I think the branching out is what's going to make you thrive more, because now, there's not many scenarios that probably concern you if they're asking you to play now, right?
Man,
I know you want to be
depends.
good,
yeah,
but I'm saying you probably know how to control those nerves and manage it all at this point.
Man, occasionally, even songs I've played with Pat, like at this time, like probably I've played, I think, like 300 shows with him at this point. Like still, it's like whenever they kick off his one of his big songs, Carry On, it's like just the acoustic guitar. And like once I hear that click and I know it's just me, it's like just me for like 4 bars.
When you say click, you guys are doing a click track through like in-ears or something?
Yeah. So we don't have any tracks besides just a click. And it's like, okay, well, if I blow it, everyone's going to know. So
pressure.
Dude, I'm a big head case for sure.
So even after 300 shows, it's still like, I don't fuck it up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That might just be a me thing. I think maybe I should see a therapist.
I mean, maybe that's why you're going to be playing well.
Yeah, maybe.
Because how many people are like, I got this.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you're off the cliff.
Never had that amount of confidence. I wish I did. I really wish I did. But
did you say you're doing pedal steel with him also?
Yeah.
And I remember when you bought a pedal steel.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to learn it.
Man, that's really why I have the gig, honestly.
Wow.
Is because the guy before me, he left and he was like a pedal steel player, like didn't just kind of play. Like pedal steel was like his main deal. His name's Sam Kostler. Amazing player. And he would play acoustic and pedal steel. That's it. And so when he left, let me back up. The guy before him, Brett Danaher, who had been with Pat for years and years, played acoustic and lead. He quit. Then they got another guy to fill his shoes, and he was better suited on steel. So kind of changed the sound, added that steel element. So whenever he left, they were like, well, man, now we kind of like steel on stage. So Michael Kelton, who I toured with Zane, got that Pat gig, hit me up. He's like, man, would you want to come play utility? Like, we know you've kind of been messing around with steel. Do you think you could make that happen? And I was like, I'm sure.
I love the idea of like, I know you've been messing around with steel. Like it's this easy instrument to pick up.
Man, I don't sound good on steel. I sound okay. But, dude, pedal steel has gotten me bigger opportunities than any guitar-related thing. Like I think it was 2022, maybe May 2022, I got a call from my buddy Ray Johnston, another country singer from the area. He called me, and he was like, hey, Tuck, what are you doing tonight? Or tomorrow night? I was like, oh, man, I got a gig with Pat. He's like, well, Coldplay's in town, and they need a pedal steel player.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, dude, whatever. Like,
First of all, you're like, fuck off.
Yeah, no, exactly. Also, side note, Ray Johnston on a gig, he thought it'd be funny to spray fart spray in my amp and then, and then not tell me.
Anyways, but Coldplay and pedal steel.
Me and Ray have just like a relationship where we'll just goof with each other. So I was like, dude, shut up, whatever. So he's like, yeah, Coldplay is like, no joke, man. Like, they need someone. And I was like, okay. Like, I don't know if I'm the guy for that, but maybe I could try to make it happen. I've got a gig with Pat tomorrow. I'm sure they'd be cool if I, dipped on that. He's like, yeah, well, let me know. So then I called our band leader, bass player, and I was like, hey, man, Coldplay's in town, and they're they're like, they're looking for a steel player for the night, and so I might miss the Pat gig. Is that cool? And he's like, dude, why the hell are you even calling me? Of course it's cool. You shouldn't have even called me. Just say yes next time.
I'm glad they said that, because as you're saying it, I'm thinking if I'm the band manager, I'm just thinking like, Do you need to offer something? You can just ask us. Why are you making up this shit?
Yeah,
You know?
right, right. No, and then, dude, by the time I got back to Ray, I was like, well, yeah, I'm in. Whatever, sounds good. I'll do it. He's like, man, I already got somebody.
Damn,
yeah,
quick.
Yeah, my buddy
quick.
P-Tone got it. He's on tour with Brothers Osborne now. Great guy. Him and I talk a lot. But yeah, it was crazy. And then their manager hit me up, was like, do you have any They're all British. They're like, do you have any videos of you playing the steel, mate? And I just, some bullcrap at home. But yeah, it was crazy. It's just.
Are most people wanting a lead steel player, or are they wanting more of that ambient feel that it gives?
So that particular one, they like Coldplay did like a special, hey, we're in Texas, let's get some pedal steel. So they like wrote a song for their Texas shows, I think. And they had like their little acoustic stage. They'd leave their main stage for and come out there.
Gotcha.
And I think his name is P-Tone, did a like a little solo thing there too. But I think for that, they're looking to feature the steel a little more.
Gotcha.
Which I would have totally just crapped the bed on big time.
Yeah, but you could have crapped the bed with Coldplay.
I know, like
would've been
that's
fun.
what I was thinking. I was like, man, if I'm gonna blow it on stage, it might as well be with Coldplay.
You know, and a bunch of their fans, they're not going to know if you were good or bad. Right. They're just going to hear a fun new instrument, right?
Right. It's like, I mean, at that point, I barely even knew how to tune the thing. You know, I mean, I still don't really know how.
I really want, I don't know, maybe you have advice. Like, I want my kid to be a musician of some kind.
Yeah.
Like, I think we've already kind of decided. Somebody else gave me the advice of, you know, we make our kid do a sport and an instrument, whatever they want to do.
Okay.
But clearly, I'm hoping, you know, they get something in. You know, like if they want to be a tuba player, that's fine. It's just I'm not going to relate. You know.
Sure. Yeah. Can't relate.
Yeah, but that's kind of what we secretly want is pedal steel. We love for him. Yeah, because it's just not everybody does it.
Yeah,
and
dude, it's a beautiful instrument.
When you get good at it,
it's
so good. And I think as I gotten older, you know, you recognize it more on records.
Sure.
A lot of the stuff that I thought was just a lead guitar at times, you realize it's a pedal steel that's being played incredibly well.
Yeah.
You know, even
like super ambient stuff.
well, he's big now, but Charlie Crockett.
Yeah.
His album In the Night, which was kind of, I think, his launching pad.
Okay.
But that has a lot of pedal steel on it. And
I'm
it's like,
sure.
it's lead pedal steel. It's like stuff that's, I'll
Playing
show you a
hooks.
track when we're done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like the feature instrument. And,
Country music, right?
well, this record, he wasn't as country as he is now.
Oh, interesting.
He still had a lot of this.
I'm not terribly familiar with his
I'll show you some
catalog.
tracks because it's my favorite record of his. Like he still does great stuff now, but he went heavy into the country lane because
That's awesome.
that's what he loves. That's great.
Yeah.
This, he still had a blend of this like East Texas, Louisiana kind of
Interesting.
bluesy stuff mixed in with some of his country stuff.
Okay.
And he was still kind of, you know, figuring out like what exactly is Charlie Crockett.
Yeah.
To me, that was the coolest sound he ever had. Like the stuff he does now is really good.
Sure.
But this, I'll show you a little bit more. But he had a song on there. I still can't figure out if it's a cover or not.
Yeah.
Because it starts with piano and it's like really walky and it's fast and it's got like kind of a little jazz feel to it. And then it comes in with this lead steel. It's not distorted or anything. It's just a clean thing. And it's like I think they
How
recorded.
steel should sound.
Yeah. And so I was just like, fuck, I forget how good this instrument is.
Yeah.
I don't know who played it, but it sounds like somebody who's like 65 years old playing it. Like I said, somebody who's just so good.
Yeah.
Where like, again, you picture them just getting up and just being like, well, we got to get to Luby's before the rush. You know, and they just slay on steel.
Yeah, that's the old joke. It's like, it's the old guy in the band is either a steel player or the bus driver.
Yeah, but, you know, I mean, I get why it's not cool. You can't just throw a strap on and, you know, around your shoulder and just go play.
Right.
It's kind of a setup, right?
Yeah. Man, you really got to be all in if you want to have any shot at being decent at steel.
Yeah.
That's
There's no
what it
cheat.
seems
There's no
like.
cheat.
Yeah.
There's no like, I know a couple chords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one is really easy to make sound bad.
Well, I've sat down and dicked around, like if I see one in a music shop or something, and you know, it never even dawned on me that the pedal steel has a pedal component,
right?
Which, of
and
course, it does. It's
knee
in the
levers too. You put your knee in between them. It's got a whole bunch of stuff going on.
Man, I was at the Door when I was in high school,
which is no longer around.
No longer around, and there was
R.I.P.
like an emo rock band or something that we were watching. I can't even remember the name anymore. And while they were playing their like heavy emo tunes, they had a guy from the other band guest with a pedal steel.
No way.
Yeah, and I remember like then I couldn't appreciate
what is
it.
that?
But now I'm like, I wish I could go back and watch that because I wasn't paying any attention to it then because I'm like, this is fucking stupid. You know, like
What is this cowboy crap?
yeah, what is this bullshit? But yeah, I would love for my son to get into that instrument specifically.
Dude, he'd be working for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, just I don't know. Just it's such a like if you're going to try really hard at an instrument, that one seems like it would be rewarding.
Yeah.
When you finally nail it, because so
Dude,
few
absolutely.
people do it well.
Yeah.
You know. Have you got to meet other players yet that give you tips and tricks on specifically pedal steel?
Man, I've asked about the same question every steel player I've ever met. I was like, man, how do you tune it? Like, do you got any tips and tricks? Because most other instruments are tuned, or just guitars tuned at 440 hertz or whatever. And some of the different strings, you know, first of all, there's 10 strings on like an E9 pedal steel neck, or 8. See, that's how little I know. Dead serious.
Yeah.
And some of them are like tuned like 339.5 or like
How are you
441.
How are you getting that exact?
You got to have a special tuner or just a great ear, which
Yeah.
I don't have.
Jeez.
Yeah, there's like whole system. Like some of them, like they'll say push down the A and B pedal with your left foot to tune these two because you need to account for the cabinet drop. The cabinet drop is what happens to a string that whenever you push down a pedal, if it isn't even pulling that string, just the fact that it's pulling another string will kind of slightly throw that out of tune. So it's a whole freaking science to it, and every steel is different, and there's no catch-all that works on every single steel. So you have to like get to know your steel very intimately.
How did you decide to buy yours and not a different one? Was
Money.
it just, that one was just for sale or what?
Man, well, buying a pedal steel is just like a odyssey in itself. You know, it's like you have
because
to.
I don't see many of them.
Yeah, I
ever.
go on Reverb all the time to look for them because I'm like, oh, they got their firm payment plans, dude. Like we were talking about.
We were just messaging the other day because I'd like to buy a certain kind of guitar, and I was talking to him about it. And I was inevitably, I'm like, you know, you're like, man, I'm just looking for something that's like under $500. And you're like, just something that's under like $1,000. And then you start shopping, you're like, maybe like $1,800. And you're like, you know, they got those payment plans, and it's like, I can't do that, man.
Yeah.
I'm not making money off of playing. I can't justify it. But you're finding it on a Reverb though?
Yeah, I think that's where we got this one. It's just a Mullen Discovery. I think it was made specifically to be under a certain weight so you could fly with it.
Oh, okay.
So it's like for folks on tours doing fly dates all the time.
I mean, are there a lot of companies making them new, or
I think so.
are they all just?
I mean, that's how like little I know
Yeah.
about it and how little time I spend on it.
Well, I mean-
I'm like an embarrassment of it. I don't really even call myself a steel player. I'm
but I
definitely
can't
not.
imagine anyone going like, I'm going to make pedal steels.
Yeah.
Because you don't sell that many,
Right,
do you? I
right.
mean,
That's why they're so expensive. They're like $5,000 or $6,000 for like a brand new one.
jeez.
That's like a car
Yeah.
10 years ago, 20 years ago,
Well,
30 years ago.
we can still find a $5,000 car. It's not great, but we can find it. Yeah, I mean, fuck. But that's the thing the average person doesn't think about, right? It's like that little bit of music that's being added to the performance. It was minimum $5,000 just to get it there that night.
Sure. That's
You know?
just for the guitar, and plus you got the
Yeah.
amps and pedals. And
That doesn't include you having to like learn how to play it all
Right.
the time.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like I think that person's getting paid $150 or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
Right?
Don't
It's
know
like
that.
they don't account for that's one of the weirdest things about art is, you know, they don't account for the hours put in. They're only paying you for the hours that you perform,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And it's pretty wild. $5,000 for pedal steel?
Pretty much, yeah.
Maybe we'll make him a drummer. I don't know.
No, you can get a good student model for like maybe $1,000, something like
Yeah.
that. But you can't go buy one for like $200. You know what I
No.
mean? Like a guitar.
And it seems like an instrument that people don't just get rid of. Like they don't just try it out and get rid of it.
Yeah.
It almost becomes
It's an investment.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, well, it's like I got a couple amps here in the room, and it's like those are from the 60s, and I don't ever really play on them, but
Yeah.
I'm never going to come across another one in that.
Yeah, don't get rid of that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like it's going to be like a piece of furniture in our life forever, and we'll play on it every now and then.
Yeah.
But it's like that amp has 6 10-inch speakers. I have nowhere where I can crank it up.
Dang.
You know
What is that?
It's a Silvertone. It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
1485.
Sure.
I think it's 100 watts. And
All
it's,
right.
the story I've heard on these amps, which is mostly from probably Jack White, but he seems to understand these things. But the story I heard is Silvertones were sold by Sears. It's a Sears Silvertone, right? And they're super cheap because they're made poorly because they were the cheap amp that you could get if you couldn't afford a Fender.
Sure.
And so back in the 60s, people were wanting to be, blues musicians or whatever, so they wanted a Fender amp but couldn't afford one. And this is where it gets muddy, but the telling of that story that I've heard is that the really good black blues musicians were always the poor musicians, and they couldn't afford Fenders, so they would buy the Silvertones.
Kind of define the sound then.
And then it accidentally defined the sound.
Yeah.
And so then people later on, Jack White, Beck, a whole list of people wanted that sound. And then the amps became more rare because as they started touring with them on the road and stuff, and they're made out of these cheap materials, they just start crumbling.
Right.
And then, the speakers go bad, you're swapping stuff out. And as far as I know, the little bit I looked through that, it's all still original. Like, I believe it's the original Silvertone tubes. I love it.
Is that what that is too?
That one is too. Yeah, it's just a smaller one. That's a 1x6,
and that's just a cabinet. There's no.
No, it's an amp. Yeah, if you pull it back, it's a little. I can't remember what the wattage is. I think it's maybe a 5-watt amp or
that's
something.
That's awesome, man.
So it's one of those like you can turn it. It's just a volume and a tone knob, so you can just crank it and let it do its thing.
Yeah. That's fun.
That band Brave Little How we were talking about. At one point, I had like 3 of those little amps because anytime I saw one for sale, I was like, "Gotta get it."
Yeah,
because they're being sold for like $150, and they're just these incredible little amps.
Yeah,
and you probably know as well as I do. It's like these boutique amps are incredible, but the amount of people who ever really get to use the full potential of those amps, those really incredible boutique amps, it's only professional players like yourself. Amateur players, you can get so much out of just a volume knob.
Yeah,
just a volume knob, right? And so I sold one to Mark from Brave Little How, and then he ended up using it on the record that they recorded with.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, hell yeah.
Is that the one you can only find there? Or?
No, it's one of the records like you can actually go stream it. It's oh my God. Nail of Gold is the name of the record. But
man, I don't even think I could like identify what a Silvertone's even supposed to sound like, honest to God.
Well, now it's all over the place because people have just kind of done what they've done, It's super, but all of the White Stripe stuff is on this amp specifically.
No way.
Yeah. I think when he toured, he started doing like what is Fender's? It's not the Twin 12. It's the they've got a 2x12 that's like their standard kind of amp, and that I think he toured with that for a while just because he didn't want to destroy these.
Sure.
Like when he went to Europe and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that kind of defined the White Stripe sound because he's like I want something that has that crunch, and I want to crank it. So he basically, my understanding is the early White Stripes records were that amp cranked up as loud as a sound guy would let him do it, and then a big muff,
a fuzz pedal,
yeah, for like real big lead stuff.
That's awesome.
And then later on, he
added
like a Digitech whammy to get some of that more, like
kind of goofy sounds,
Seven Nation Army solo stuff. And then he kept it simple, and so it came down to. I was just talking about this with my wife because music goes through these cycles of really high production, and then people kind of get sick of that and they go back to low production.
Right, yeah.
And that was the White Stripes is, we had all this incredible, even though grunge was grunge, they were beautifully produced studio albums, right? Like if you listen to an Alice in Chains record, it's clean, it's a good sounding recording, right? And then the White Stripes come out and it's an old shitty amp from the 60s, a cheap drum set, 2 people playing, there's no bass, and they recorded it very specifically to sound kind of shittier, and people just go through those waves, And I think we're hitting a real big level of high production now, and it's going to cycle back through where we're going to get some real
absolutely. Look at. Are you familiar with Zach Bryan?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like he's kind of a good example of that too. A lot of his stuff is like super,
like pulling it back a little.
Yeah, yeah.
I think people like that. I mean. Amazing production is good, and I like it. I just like the balance of it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, did you ever watch "It Might Get Loud"? It's
with Jimmy Page and Jack White and
The Edge from
that's right.
U2.
Yeah.
He talks about that kind of stuff. That it's maybe one of the best opening scenes I've ever seen for like music, anyway, because it's Jack White. He's really hamming up the. Like I guess he was in Nashville at the time, so he's at like some old house, and there's like cows in the background, and it's like he's not a farmer. We know what you're doing, Jack. And but he gets a plank of wood. He puts 2 nails, one on each end, and then he wraps one guitar string around each end of the nail. He puts a pickup in with one nail, and then he plugs that into a fuzz pedal into this amp, and he just starts playing slide on it. And he's just like, who says you got to buy a guitar? And that's the opening to the whole thing. And
That's
it's
funny.
Oh, that's fucking cool.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Totally opposite from a $5,000 pedal steel, but, you know. But
Pick your poison, I guess.
yeah, I mean, I can never. I mean, well, like let's talk about Van Halen for a second. Do you view Eddie Van Halen as a style player or like a technical player?
Man, I think he's got it all.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
like, no one sounds like him or ever will, you know?
I always drift towards style players.
Yeah.
But he's always been one of the ones where I'm like, fuck.
Dude, just like his rhythm playing alone, you know, is insane. Just like always right in the pocket, beautiful tone, awesome part, and they just ripping a lead that no one else can play, you know?
Yeah, and at the time it was...
It was like groundbreaking
It was
stuff,
in its own
you know?
category.
Yeah.
I think that's always what's been the struggle for me with modern country music is it's hard to do something like that. There's a formula with modern country music.
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
And it's hard to get something really unique out there.
Yeah.
But then not formula, but like especially the Texas country scene, it's like what I've noticed when we go watch a show somewhere that's at I think I've seen those shows like at Love and War. I remember watching you when you were with Zane up somewhere in McKinney, whatever that place is. That always
Hanks,
has shows.
probably
Hanks, yeah.
Just closed down.
Oh, that fucking. Well, I was about to say like these fans for country music always show up.
Absolutely.
They come out.
Yeah.
And it's like as much as I have a love-hate with that style of music sometimes, there's a lot to learn about that scene and how it's kept going because for whatever reason, these people go to those shows.
Man, I've heard people say that country music fans are the most loyal.
It appears that way.
Which that's really all I know, so I got nothing to gauge it off of.
I mean, if I can go watch a regional, like a successful but a regionally touring country musician, and it's sold out, and that's probably like a 300-person crowd.
Yeah.
Right? On a Friday or Saturday, that seems like you're really supporting because I know they don't all know who that act is.
Sure.
Right? There's probably half to three-quarters came just for that band. And then the other ones are just discovering it. And then you watch them, it's like when they're leaving, they're buying shirts. They're buying
right.
whatever they can. Like they're
Made
all
some
in
new
now.
fans. Yeah.
Whereas, you go to like an indie rock show, it's like maybe 50 people.
Really?
And dude, this shirt I'm wearing right now, the Deslons, they're a great band. They're a great band.
Sporting, I like it.
We went to watch them at Tulips in Fort Worth.
Oh, yeah.
Great venue. It's beautiful. Sounds great. And we showed up, man, probably like an hour early because we were like, it's going to be packed. I want to make sure we get a good spot. We show up. There's literally, no exaggeration, probably 10 people there.
Oh, really?
And we're like, and I asked them, I was like, did they, like, what's the crowd like? Because I think we went on a weeknight too, so I was like, maybe it's a little lighter.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, this is a good band. They're a touring band. This is going to be a solid show. And they're like, they didn't get close to selling it out. I was like, really? Like, they're good.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't think, it's not just me. It's not subjective. Like, objectively, they have a legitimate career that they can stand on. And, I think by the time they got on stage after the opening act, there's probably like maybe 50 people, 60 people.
Really?
Yeah. And I was just like, wow, I hope they come back.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how they can.
It's just not the market for them. I don't know.
But why isn't Fort Worth, Texas? They have like a blend of a country blues sound. But it's not the more formulaic country that does so well.
Yeah.
But it's really good. And they're set up in this way where I know for sure there's 2 lead singers, maybe a third. So it's almost like this indie country with like a little bit of like a Beatles vibe at times. And what I love about it is they're not afraid to slow it down.
Yeah.
A lot of their stuff's like real halftime. And the guy, one singer, kind of a higher pitched, more standard vocal. And then the other one, it's like this grizzled guy who looks like he'd be working on your plumbing. He just sings down kind of in here. You
need that. Yeah.
Yeah. But the balance of those two, it's like they found this great mix. And,
that's awesome.
So it's like for me, it was great because we're literally, front row for this incredible performance. But you're just like, fuck, I really want these acts to come to town. And if we can't get a couple hundred people out to watch them, they literally can't afford the gas to come back.
Man, it's rough, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And then Tulips, that's a beautiful venue. It's like, I don't want them closing down because we can't get people out to these shows. It's like, I don't know what went wrong, but the venue's great. They were friendly, and the sound was great.
Yeah.
So what more are they supposed to be doing on their end? You
yeah.
know?
Man, you never know, dude. It's so much goes into that, and it's funny seeing like just correlating, crowd attendance with like Instagram followers or something. Like you see someone with a massive following online, then you go see him in person. There's like no one there. It's like some sort of disconnect somewhere.
Yeah.
And I don't even know. Like, there's so many different outlets to find out how and where shows are getting promoted. I feel like it's almost easy to miss it. It's like maybe your favorite band's in town, and if you don't follow them somehow on Instagram or their stuff doesn't show up in your feed, you might just like completely miss it over that.
Yeah, I go through these phases where don't die on me. I go through these phases where I want to blame, a venue. And I don't know if that's appropriate, so I'm not standing on that, but you do want to go like, was Tulips promoting this? Did they promote this at all?
Yeah.
Or did the band's label or whoever books it, like, did they? Who's dropping the ball here?
Yeah.
That you've got a beautiful venue, a talented band, but no crowd. And Fort Worth's not a small city. You know, it's a major. It should be a major stop when anybody comes through town. Right. You should be deciding: am I doing Dallas or Fort Worth now? And then am I coming back 2 months later to do the other one? Mm-hmm. So I don't know, man. But our current music scene really concerns me.
Really?
Yeah, because why? It's Dallas, Fort Worth. The venues here should not be struggling. Yeah, there's like 7 million people here.
Man, that's a good point. I feel like every non-big show I've gone to has just been like completely dead. Yeah, Mm-hmm. Most of them I'm playing.
Well, I don't know. I know there's a couple venues I would never say their names because I don't want to trash them. There's a couple where you think like, okay, you deserve this because you're not reinvesting. Maybe deserves the wrong word, but you're not keeping your place up to the standard that it should have for someone who's going to spend money. Sure. But then there's other places that spend. Their places look great. It's the experience you want to have if you're going out that night. Yeah. And they still struggle. And again, the musicians I talk to, they'll be like, "Oh, kids just don't like going to shows." It's like, I don't know, man. I don't believe that because that show we went to where there was only 50 people, there were people who were like, you saw the X's. There were like minors there, people who couldn't drink that just bought a ticket to watch the show. So there was a blend of the age groups. Yeah. And some dude drove from, I want to say somebody drove from like Oklahoma. Damn. Because I was talking to there was like 3 or 4 young kids, and thankfully I'm there with my wife, so I don't just look like a creeper. But I was just like, how'd y'all hear about this show? And they were just like, oh, he likes it. He told us to come out. And it's like, all right, cool. Well, that's how it's supposed to work. Yeah. So where's the rest of the people? Yeah. And I was just thinking like, all right, y'all need to stay friends with this guy because he's the one who's taking you out and doing shit.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of music genres here locally can learn a ton from that Texas music circuit. Sure. That seems to be the only one that struggles the least. Yeah.
It's got its thing, and I feel like there's certain venues that every single Texas country band hits every year, and they're always going to do well. They've figured it out. Yeah. But I feel like that that style of music is so ingrained in the culture down here too. It's like, of course you're going to listen to country music in Texas, but you don't necessarily associate Texas with like an indie rock band or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, what have you been to another scene that you feel is similar to that, like with the Texas country? Is there somewhere
as far
else?
As like success in the area?
Well, like you said, it's just kind of ingrained, and like people show up. Like people will just say, "I want to dance this weekend. We're gonna go, Red River,
maybe a rave."
And there's right. It's a very unique style of music in terms of the following. Yeah, like they'll get on board quick. Absolutely. Long as, and all you have to do is not be an outward asshole, and they'll usually stay with you. Right? Yeah. Just don't do anything crazy. Yeah, and we'll buy the record. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's just electronic music.
I have no idea. I'm so out of everything that's not country. It's probably not good. Well,
what other style would you want to play if you weren't doing country, or if you were going to add a layer in?
No idea.
Really?
Maybe just jazz, probably. Because a lot of jazz is very influenced, or a lot of country is very influenced by jazz. You know, all the old country session players were jazz players, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So probably that. I don't know. I'm kind of a loser. I like what I like, I guess.
Yeah. It's just, you know, do you feel like once you get to that level of playing, like, is it, like, there's no way you're going to just be playing something with a power chord anymore, are you?
It'd be hard to.
Isn't it just boring for you?
Yeah. I'd probably just say no. Like, you can find someone else.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it depends on what it is. I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm too good for anything,
You know,
because
if
I'm not. I need work.
If Coldplay just wanted you to get up there and strum 3 chords on an acoustic.
Might have to tell them no.
Really?
No, of course not.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, yes, of course.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, your level of playing is something I think I'll struggle to understand for a while, because like, how do you, like, on the album you released, how do you approach writing that? Because I will say, I rarely like listening to someone just shred.
Yeah, me too, honestly.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
But like tracks like Tuck and Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I enjoy it. And
That's cool.
usually
Thanks,
I would
man.
be like, this is all just, you know,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. But you seem to have a feel where you can shred, but you still have movements.
Sure.
How do you approach writing like that?
Man, I don't know. I really wanted to write something that had like a twin kind of a lead line in it. And that's actually my Air Force buddy is the other guitar on that. The dude is like blown it out of the water. That's my buddy Clifton Wright.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's called Tuck and Right. Very creative name, I know. It was like, you're Tuck and Right. Stupid. Very dumb. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of follow my ear, I guess.
I mean, are you just noodling around and something piques your?
Yeah,
because
I guess
for me, what I struggle with understanding is like when you're moving on a fretboard that much. I mean, you're going all over it. How does it not feel like you're just noodling a solo where you're like, no, this is a piece, this is an arrangement?
I feel like what can give something like that a little more movement is the chords that you're playing over are moving around like every couple bars, and I make it a point to kind of hit chord tones from those chords to kind of make it move with it, I guess.
So are you usually starting with your chords then, or do you end up finding a lead first and then just fitting it all together? Or?
I'll usually start with chords, honestly. Yeah, I guess now that I think about it. Yeah, I'll figure out a chord progression and then just try to come up with something that's not too cliche, because there's so many dang instrumentals and country instrumentals, and honestly, who wants to listen to that? For real, though.
You're selling your album so well.
Yeah. Man, I've had a few jobs in sales, and I suck so bad at selling anything. They're like, I'm not interested. I'm like, yeah, I don't blame you. All right, see ya.
I get it. No.
Me neither.
Yeah. No, but I mean, when you put it out, I was excited. And I
appreciate it, man.
Well,
that was fun. I had a great time doing it.
Well, I enjoyed the chicken picking stuff. And then I saw how you were trying to do lessons and things with that. And then, I don't know, I just feel like locally there's not a lot of people that are going these different routes like you are. Like, there's a lot of really good people around here, but
sure.
I just always see you working on it.
Oh,
you know?
Thanks, man.
And so when
I love it. I really do. I'm
Yeah.
still having a freaking blast, and you know, I don't know. Guitar's just always been super exciting for me. It still is, because it's like this, like you're constantly chasing the dragon. You know, it's like you're constantly, or I'm at least just trying to get better. Like, I've got like a playlist on my phone of like unattainable for me right now, the songs I want to learn note for note that are like on my list to transcribe, and I'm like, it's like kind of how I've always been. I'm like, man, once I can learn to play this, like, then I'll be a good guitar player.
Yeah. I still think my personal dream for you, my vision, and you don't have to take it.
I need it. I need some direction.
I think I talked to you about this a long time ago, drinking at the Fillmore pub or something. But
oh man,
but
I wish we could do a time warp and go back there,
or
or time travel.
Dude, fun days, man. But I still picture you finding like a country version where you really, kind of how we were talking about Eddie Van Halen, where like he found his style.
Yeah.
And it was a blend of these other things that he just made his own thing. I think you're on the path to getting something like that with country music and jazz. But I still want you to have like a Carlos, like a Santana vibe to it.
Yeah.
Where you write these pieces and we find you 10 different singers.
I love
for 10
that.
different. So like you just come up with these arrangements and you're just working it for that singer.
Yeah.
Where you've got the you've got the goal in mind of like, I know they're kind of capable of this, and that's how we start doing Mike Tuck records because there's these great, objectively great guitar players like who's like a real famous guy. Was it Joe Bonamassa?
Oh yeah.
It's like he's great. I'm not going to deny his talent. I am so bored.
Amazing.
I'm so bored. Do you know what I mean? And I know people love him, and it's like that's great. But I think that's part of it. Is it just seems like you start reaching these walls when you're just a technically proficient player.
Sure.
It's like it's harder to become more creative and interesting.
Yeah, you can hear anyone shred.
Yeah.
Online especially. That I feel like that's what like most people show. But
I mean,
that's cool, man. I think that's
would be a fun route. It's like, and you kind of dipped your toe in it with this. I'm sorry, what was his name again? Buck Ford.
Yeah.
You're kind of dipping in that lane.
Absolutely.
Because I remember when I was texting you, I was like, are these all originals? And you're like, well, obviously, like, the
George Strait, Right or Wrong.
Yeah, and oh my God,
America the
Patriotic
Beautiful.
Song. Thank you. America the Beautiful. Obviously, that's a cover. But even on that, it's like you put your own take on it at the end.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, but then you were like, oh yeah, and this was a Zane song. And then we brought this guy Buck in, and now you're working with your buddy Wright. And it's like you're kind of dipping in that lane.
Sure.
So it's like
what I'd like to do really is that was all remote. Most of that.
Oh,
like
okay.
I didn't have the budget to go sit in a studio with these guys and flesh it out. I'd love to do that and just take a day for each song, and kind of play off each other in
like
the moment.
Old school Wrecking Crew where they get in there and just work.
Versus just like, okay, I've got these MIDI drum tracks done. Can you lay down your drum track now? And then I'll get the bass on it. And so this part's already done, so it kind of doesn't leave much room for a lot of musicality, like playing off each other, like it
doesn't leave room for those moments.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
which I feel like it
go.
takes away from it.
That sounds like your next goal then is when you make the next record, how do you get to track it live?
Yeah.
How do you
gotta start saving? Man, I spent $5,000 on that record, which is not that much money.
Is it just hiring the players or what is it?
Yeah, so speaking of pedal steel, I think best pedal steel player, seriously, in the freaking world, I got on this. His name's Travis Toy. Freaking amazing. Oh my gosh. Hear him on Right or Wrong, on the title track Telluride, Texas, and I'm blanking.
On
what
your
else
own
is it on?
songs. Horrible salesman.
And and that song Twang Light, which has a beautiful music video y'all should check out sometime.
That actually, I think you put that out after I was like, hey, do you want to come on the show?
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was like, we made the right choice. We made the right choice.
So stupid, man.
It is, but I'm just a fan of people doing things, and then more importantly, doing things that are true to them.
Yeah.
It's like you've always been fun and a goofy guy, and it's like, that's exactly the type of video you should have made for that. You know what I mean? That's Mike Tuck.
Absolutely. Yeah. Can't hide who I am, man.
So that's the goal then. We got to, because you're right, man. That's to like kind of come full circle. That's the difference of being like, a social media performer versus like an in-person band performer.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to make some incredible stuff online.
Sure.
But there's always something about being in a room with somebody for 4, 5, 6 hours.
To me, that's a record right
there. You get magic somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Alabama Shake's first album. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're good.
I'm familiar with them. I need to go back and listen then.
Their first record, Boys and Girls, I think. I'm always bad with titles and shit, but I believe they went to, like, they recorded it in a house. So, like, everybody's kind of in their own room, like it's an ISO booth. But that engineer, I think, felt it was important to have the bleed and the air from the other rooms because you get that feel.
Yeah,
you get that vibe of being together.
Yeah.
And there's just something about
hard to recreate.
It is, you know. And I think you try to track as much of that as you can. And then if you got to do some overdubs here and there, it's fine. But something about that core rhythm section being tracked together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's all it is. We just got to get you like 10, 15 grand.
Man,
do you already have some more songs written that you want to mess with? You got to have a whole catalog of things you like.
I've got like 5 or 6 I'm kind of sitting on right now, which I was thinking the same thing. It's like, man, how can I stretch these songs so they're longer than a minute and a half, which I feel like a few on my record are. But it's like I have to be so comfortable with the song where I can really like let loose and pray freely, you know, and not have solos worked out for it. Like I'm gonna like a classical piece, you know, it's like I'm gonna play these notes here.
Because that's kind of where you thrive, right? Is when you're not on a paid thing like with Pat.
Yeah,
It's like I feel like you enjoy just finding it.
absolutely. I mean, that's the whole reason I do that Tuesday night deal is so
Yeah.
I can just be in that zone more, you know, and kind of tap into just the improv side of things, you know,
Yeah.
because I love that stuff. I love improvisational music too because it's, you know, that's the intangible, you know, like you can go back and like, okay, this was a cool lick on this record, but let me fine tune it just this much, you
Yeah.
know, and that kind of maybe takes away from a little bit.
Did you ever see? There's a great interview with Frank Zappa, where somebody. I don't know if you're familiar with Frank Zappa at all.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. I figured when you were talking.
I've heard a
about,
lot of stories about him.
Well, he had this great interview where someone's asking about like his concert or his playing style or something, and he's like, "Well, what I do is different." He's like, he basically says like, you know, other people go up and perform their music. He's like, I have a proficient understanding of my instrument, and when I step on stage, I don't know what I'm going to do. The band plays, and he goes, and I just make it up right then. And
Really?
Yeah, and he's like, so if you're in the crowd, you were getting a unique experience every time you come to a show because it will never, ever be the same because I don't play the same thing.
That's pretty awesome. I didn't know
And so
that.
I was like, fuck, that was pretty cool. Like,
I thought he was like the guy who had like 7-page long like notation, like here you're gonna play this.
maybe for the band.
Oh,
but for his
yeah.
actual soloing,
Interesting.
and I don't know, I don't know if that was him or not, but I think his band had the core. Like here's the song.
Oh, okay.
But his solos were never ever the same thing, and he like it was
Man, I
like a
need
point
to
of pride
go
for
back
him.
to all that, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed a Frank Zappa phase. Maybe I just
Well,
wasn't a stoner in high school.
He's
I
a
don't
weird
know.
phase. It's
Yeah.
a very unique phase, right? Very
Yeah.
pigeonholed. But no, I could see you thriving in a studio environment where you're like, we got the bass,
Yeah.
we got the bass, the drums, we got the whole rhythm section down. Let's just free flow a little bit.
Yeah.
Here. And that's what I was saying. I think the added layer for you is find, like over the next year or so, just start finding singers that when you hear them, not like who you can hire,
Yeah.
but find people where when you hear them, you're like, that is a voice that I want to work
Yeah.
with. And then just start plotting of like, I'm going to make a record and I'm trying to get these incredible vocalists on it around arrangement style. And you could write together, like maybe they write lyrics just for that song instead of you having to work, and just kind of see how it meshes.
That'd be cool, man.
And I think that would start to, I don't know. For some reason in my mind, that's what I feel like is going to be something really enjoyable for you.
Yeah.
Where it's a totally original record, but it wasn't 100% your effort.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, like you said, the remote things that you're trying to do. It's like you
Sure.
really do get like, today or these 3 days, we're working with so-and-so.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to get a song, maybe 2. And we'll just see what happens.
Man, that'd be
Because then everybody kind of wins, right? Like
Yeah.
they get to be on a record with other people that now you're all kind of cross-promoting and everybody kind of
absolutely
wins.
Yeah.
If you happen to be in town at one of their shows, y'all can play that track or vice
Yeah.
versa. If they're in town where you're somewhere, they can pop up and sing with you for a
Yeah.
minute. And it's like it just becomes fun again. You
Man,
know, that variety.
absolutely, dude. Collaboration is so important, man. I feel like it can really re-energize you, and I couldn't do that whole record on my own. Like my engineer, I guess all the drums were done at the same place, and my buddy, the drummer, really helped me a lot with arrangements and really just helped encourage me. You know, like I don't know if I would have gotten it done if it was just like me hiring random dudes the whole time. I had like kind of 2 guys kind of in my corner for me.
Yeah, I mean, the way you did it, it's a tough way to make a record.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have any of that magic of making a record.
Yeah,
Like, you just
yeah.
got to keep grinding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You don't have like any of the gratification. I was like, dude, today was such a great day. We all like really laid it down.
High
It's-
five, let's get some beers.
Yeah, yeah.
You're just cheersing over Zoom. You're like, ooh, way to go.
Great
thanks.
job.
Yeah.
That's the winner.
That's exciting, man. Well, I'm excited to see where it goes.
Man, that's a great
feel
idea.
I feel like when you're in it, you don't see it growing and progressing.
Yeah.
But you've done a lot of really cool shit, man.
Thank you,
It's
man.
all centered around the guitar.
Likewise.
What all do you want to promote? You're doing so much. You want people to come to the jam, come watch you play with Pat? Where do you want them to go see you?
Man, come to a Pat Green show. Check out my website, honkytonkguitar.com. Very on brand with my Mike Telly Tuck alias online.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, come to a jam at Lovemore and Plano on Tuesday nights.
Do they like if somebody comes to the jam, do they just show up? Or you want to bring an instrument or something?
Yeah, bring it. Well, yeah, bring a guitar. Will there be a couple amps there? You can get up and play. You can get up and sing. Play the fiddle. We got a fiddle. Play steel.
And you're free to screw it up, right?
Oh, yeah, I do all the time. I really do. I'm not just saying that. I fall flat on my face.
Right on. Well, man, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
You got an open door here whenever you... Yeah, thanks for being here.
I'm interviewing you.
There's that great salesman we talked about.
Oh, man.
Oh, we're going to end it on that, man. I appreciate it.
Love you, dude. Thank you.
The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.